Good evening and thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku and these are the top stories. OPEC discloses reason behind high fuel price in Nigeria. Zamfara Governor Lawal alleges Matawalle Defense Minister fully involved in banditry. Zamfara elders urge Governor Lawal to let Matawalle breathe. Olorifemi blames INEC for confusion in Labour Party. President Tinubu absent as Vice President Shetima leads Nigeria's delegation to 79th Hunger. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The Secretary General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Haitham Al-Ghais, has disclosed that oil producers are not responsible for the hike in fuel prices in Nigeria. Nigeria's fuel price hike has sparked widespread concerns, with many pointing fingers at oil producers, particularly local operators like Dangote Refinery. However, Ghais explained that the real reasons behind high fuel prices lie elsewhere, such as in taxes imposed by governments, including those of major oil-consuming nations. In an article which was published on Tuesday, the Secretary General explained that crude oil and its derivatives form the backbone of global industries powering everything from transportation and pharmaceuticals. While many assume that rising oil prices directly benefit oil producers at the expense of consumers, the OPEC chief debunked this myth, noting that oil-producing nations are not the primary beneficiaries of retail fuel sales. The Secretary General emphasized that countries within the OECD, that is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, earn substantially more from the retail sale of petroleum products than OPEC member countries make from the sale of crude oil itself. Between 2019 and 2023, these nations earned approximately $1.915 trillion more annually than OPEC nations from petroleum products. In 2023 alone, taxes accounted for around 44% of the final retail price of petroleum products in OECD countries, and in certain European countries, these figures actually exceeded 50%. For more Nigerian consumers, this highlights that the high cost of fuel at the pump is not merely a reflection of crude oil prices or refinery margins. Instead, a significant portion of what consumers pay is directed towards government taxes. Now, in another development, the governor of Zamfara State, Lawal, has alleged that the Minister of State for Defense and former governor of the state, Matawalle, was fully involved in banditry activities. Governor Lawal further alleged that Matawalle, as governor, kept some bandits in the Zamfara State Government House. Lawal made this allegation while speaking on Wednesday via an interview with Television Continental, demanding that Matawalle resigns his position as minister. He said, and I quote, "There were a lot of issues in the past with my predecessor. In fact, let me say this very categorically. If I were him, I would resign and face all the allegations against me. And what would have been more honorable, because from all the information we are getting, my predecessor was fully involved in some of these banditry issues. Typical is the fact that there was a permanent secretary when his children were abducted. It was unfortunate that he had to pay the ransom through the government house, and it was also very clear, based on all the allegations, that bandits were being kept at government houses. You know, there are so many issues," end quote. Meanwhile, a group under the auspices of Zamfara Elders Support for Peace and Development has urged Zamfara State Governor Lawal to concentrate on how to deliver good governance to the Minister of State for Defense, Mohammed Bello Matawalle, alone. The concerned group was reacting to what it called an outburst against a person of Matawalle by the governor on a national television, describing it as nothing but mischievous intentions to divert the attention of Nigerians from ongoing success in the fight against banditry banditry in his state. Speaking on behalf of the group during a visit to some flood victims in Gumi, Talata, Mafara, and Kaura Namuda local government areas of Zamfara state, Honorable Aliyu Mamani Kaura said corruption and bad governance allegations leveled against his immediate predecessor were uncalled for. So far, the group has donated foodstuff, toiletries, cement and roofing sheets, among other relief items worth millions of naira to some victims of the flood disaster in Zamfara state. Now, moving on to party politics, the Deputy National Chairman of the Labour Party, Ayo Olorinfemi, has accused in the wake of its leadership tussle. Olorinfemi claimed that the electoral body was interfering with the party's activities in a bid to cause chaos. He made this claim during a monitored television program on Thursday, which is today. According to him, the electoral umpire ignored the Labour Party when the party sent a letter inviting them for its national convention. His comment came after INEC accused the party of not following the Electoral Act for its national convention held in Inewi, Anambra State in March 2024, earlier this year. This is even after the party's presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, earlier clarified that the constitution of the party and not an individual removed Julius Abure as the national chairman. Olorinfemi further expressed the measures they are taking to salvage the situation. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not attend the 79th United Nations General Assembly session in New York this year. Now, this was made known in a statement released today by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. He stated that the President has first directed Vice President Kashim Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation. President Tinubu, who returned to the country last Sunday after his trip to China and the United Kingdom, wants to focus on domestic issues and address some of the country's challenges, especially after the recent devastating flooding. At the United Nations General Assembly, the 79th session, Vice President Shettima will deliver Nigeria's national statement to the General Assembly, attend important sideline events, and hold bilateral meetings. The high-level general debate with the theme "Leaving No One Behind," acting together for the advancement of peace, sustainable development and human dignity for present and future generations, will run from Tuesday, September 24 through Saturday, September 28, 2024. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 92.3 FM. We took a very short break, but when we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment. This time, I actually have right here in the studio our in-house analyst, Mr. Peter Anosike. Peter Anosike is a political, national and social affairs commentator. He's also an economic strategist and one of the best-selling authors in Africa. Thank you for staying with us. All right, welcome back. This is still the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. And of course, I have right here in the studio, as I announced earlier before the break, Mr. Peter Anosike. Mr. Peter Anosike, good evening to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's one of those Thursday. How are you today?
Fine with me.
All right, let's head on to this very controversial development concerning Zamfara State. This is not the first time we've heard allegations on the former governor of the state, Bello Matawalle, and now the current defense minister, that he is hugely involved in the situation, or would I call it the black ops operation of, banditry as a business activity for some political
that Tinubu made.
Okay.
That putting him as Minister of State for Defense. Because as he failed woefully as a governor with regard to security.
All right.
Borno and Zamfara State were the most security-turned states in the country for the 8 years that he was there. So somebody who couldn't do anything about the insecurity in his state, you now pick him and made him the national, that is Minister of State for Defense. So I faulted that appointment right from day one because it is wrong. He has no competence in that area. And that's why up to date, our our security is wobbling and fumbling. Because the people there failed in that area as governors. Understand me? So, and for the current governor that to come and say this in a public forum means that he must have been briefed on the issue.
Okay, let's look at the situation. If this is coming from an authentic source, this is the current governor of the state. Most times we know that, will I call them incumbent, protect their predecessors most of the time. It's quite surprising to hear the current governor accuse the former governor. Now, if this is a situation, why has there not been an investigation committee to set up any of these allegations if it is true? Before Lawal actually called out the name Matawalle. On previous occasions, he has granted press interviews where he has responded to questions concerning security in Zamfara, and he had stated categorically that government officials are aware of these bandits. He said they know where they reside, they know their location. If the security agencies want to rout them out, they know what to do. Before he called any names, he had been very specific as to the fact that government knows the whereabouts of these bandits or terrorists, and that it is possible that the government knows what to do but doesn't want to do it. Why? He said he doesn't know. I recall that he had always made reference to that. For him to have come out to categorically call out Matawalle, does that mean that there is every tenet of truth in it? Because I'm waiting for the spokesperson or the PR team of Matawalle to respond to this. I have not seen any response from the reporter.
For me, in the previous administration, we had stories of a governor that gave SUVs to bandits. We had stories of governors that gave a motorcycle to bandits, and Zamfara was one of those states. And Matawalle has cases wrong around him. Ordinarily, he shouldn't have been given any appointment until he cleared his name of those allegations.
So how come he got the appointment? If there was this dark or grey cloud around him which had not been cleared, how come he was given this appointment? Who were the individuals that pushed for his file to be in the presence of the president, and the president gave him that position?
Well, for me, I said then that Tinubu's appointment were not based on merit or on competence. It was based on reward. Thank you for what you did for me, and for your reward, you are this or that.
So you're saying that some of the ministers within the cabinet,
most of them.
We've been hearing talks of a cabinet reshuffle very soon, but we don't know who and who will be replaced. Does it mean that now the president has realized that indeed some of his ministers are not performing their roles or the designation they were given?
Well, for me, you can never achieve what you cannot measure.
Okay.
And 1 year is enough to know who is doing what. But that doesn't mean that you name a minister instead of naming a president.
Okay.
Nigeria did not vote for any minister. Nigeria voted for the president. So if the country is going bad, it is on the head of the president, not the minister.
Let's look at this. Lawal is actually asking Matawalle to resign. He's advising that he should resign as soon as possible with this allegation. Now, Lawal, for him to categorically make this statement, obviously, like I had repeated over time while I was asking you questions, it's coming from a very informed perspective, and maybe there is evidence to actually portray that. But the question now is this: if Matawalle resigns, does that stop banditry from continuing in that state?
Well, what he was saying is that what the current governor is saying is that the bandits are being protected by some government officials. And assuming if Matawalle resigns, which I don't think he will, he will lose that office.
All right.
Because as a Minister of State for Defense. It's a very big portfolio. You are in control.
A sensitive one too.
You are in control of the police and the army. You are in control of defense. So if you vacate there, he loses those
connections.
And then that's a genuine investigation can now go on.
Go on.
If it's where people are not more concerned about themselves than the country, he should have resigned.
Okay.
Because when a governor mentioned you, a governor receives his security brief every morning.
Okay.
And when they say that you are hand deep with these people, you should say no. If you have any name at all, you should say, let me first of all protect my name.
Mr. Anosike, just 2 or 3 days ago, when the military actually took a swipe on the notorious terrorist and bandit leader Halilu Shibubu. Now you know that recently there have been an onslaught on this terrorist, and I think I remember CDS Musa saying that very soon Bello Turuji would be caught, and it would possibly reduce the menace that this individual and his gang have been implementing in the communities that they have been ravaging. Well, the governor actually made an appearance on another television station, and he again, before he mentioned Matawalle's name, he said that they were hiding somewhere in the borders between Zamfara and Sokoto states around Shinkafi. This was a statement he made on Monday night during a television appearance. Now, like I said, this governor has been dropping hints, verifiable hints of what he knows. He has continued to push and say he knows where they are and that very soon Turuji will be caught. So why had he not mentioned this name, that is the defense minister, earlier? Why now? What prompted him to disclose the name now?
Maybe he has been speaking generally and nothing is being done. Okay. So he decided to narrow it down to the individual that he felt is behind all this. But Shinkafi is just a local government at the boundary of Zamfara and Sokoto. Mind you, Zamfara was cut out of the old Sokoto state.
Yes.
Before, they used to be one state. So, and this is what our intelligence, our security, that's the army, if they are really interested in fighting this, they can just go there and round them up. They can just go there and round them up. That's if they are really interested in fighting.
Well, the military has been making some actually incorrigible, well, I say, routing out of these military of these terrorists or these bandits.
I don't know about
you
that.
Heard about Halilu Shibubu?
No, I'm hearing from you.
That really, Halilu Shibubu, for the past 2 days or so, there have been quite a lot of encouragement on the Nigerian military for killing him. We saw pictures of his murder, and apparently that is Bello Turuji's mentor, or that is one of the person that Bello Turuji looks up to. Now, a renowned broadcaster and elder statesman, Alhaji Muhammad Rabiu Abako, he made an alarm. He sounded an alarm on the dire consequences that insecurity is causing in the northern region. He talked about the crippling insecurity, poverty, unemployment, and economic decay, and that the north is sitting on a time bomb. He said that that part of the country used to be the food basket, but now the north struggles to feed itself, and economic institutions have collapsed, roads in disarray, and youth hugely unemployed. And this has created a fertile ground for insecurity, with 65% of Nigeria's poor residing in the north. Poverty levels vary significantly across the state. He also went out to read out statistics that banditry has increased by 731% between 2018 and 2022, with 13,000 or more than 13,000 deaths recorded. So with all of this, do we see a quell in the the mass movement of banditry and insecurity in the northern region?
Well, we should first of all ask ourselves what is behind this increment. Why is this thing happening? Because northern leaders have been more interested in elections than in governance. Because this riots between 2018 and 2022, Buhari, a retired general, was the president. And this was happening under his watch. But his interest is in election, not governance. That's why what is happening in the north is happening. Buhari, Anywhere there's insecurity, there can never be development. That's one of the reasons why we are having shortage of food in the country. Natural disasters, just like the Chad Basin that is drying up, it's affecting agriculture. But insecurity is the main reason that is pushing northerners down to the south. And they don't want to bring answers to it because some people are benefiting from this.
All right. Okay, so let's look at the Yoruba Council blaming former President Buhari for certain landmines, which is currently affecting the administration of President Tinubu, which is quite surprising because the president said he was going to continue from where the previous administration stopped. While the Yoruba Council are actually blaming the ex-president, they attributed Nigeria's current economic challenges, including fuel price hikes, to landmines set by the former president, and they're demanding a comprehensive audit and overhaul of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Hassan warned that President Tinubu is facing internal sabotage from government elements aiming to undermine his efforts. Are you of that same line of thoughts?
Well, I have said it before that not even a landmine. Buhari left 2 rattlesnakes for Tinubu. Number 1 is the subsidy.
Okay.
Number 2 is the census. Census will still come.
Yeah.
And if he had that courage to conduct census, I know that he will escape it. He's going to avoid it. So these are the landmines or the rattlesnakes that Buhari left for him. And he saw it. Because Tinubu should know that you cannot remove subsidy and without have a wars on your hand. And politics is about numbers. You cannot conduct census without having war on your hands. So Buhari left rattlesnakes for him. But he said, don't pity me. I asked for this job. So for me, I'm not pitying him. I'm only pitying Nigerian masses who are going to bed without food. Nigerian masses who don't know where or when their next meal will come.
Okay.
That's the people I'm pitying. Or the president.
Okay, Mr. Peter Anosike, thank you so much. That is aptly put. Let's look into another issue, or rather, story that I read out during the World News at 6, or while I was reading out the stories. And this time around, we're heading into party politics. Whether we like it or not, the political landscape in this country is very unique, and we must always get information about each of these political parties in the news all the time. And this time around, of course, we're focusing on Labour Party. Now, the Deputy National Chairman of the Labour Party, Ayo Olorunfemi, is accusing INEC of creating confusion in the party in the wake of its leadership tussle. According to him, he's saying that INEC was interfering with the party's activities in a bid to cause chaos. You know that INEC recently responded, to the Labour Party concerning Julius Abure's chairmanship. INEC has actually disclosed that Julius Abure is not the chairman of Labour Party at this time, and that they do not recognize the convention that took place in Anambra. While Olorunfemi is saying that they wrote a letter inviting INEC for that convention in March 2024, earlier this year, and that INEC declined or they refused to attend. But the question is this: there is always a 21-day window, that is 21-day notification for persons, stakeholders, INEC, everyone, the press, to be informed about it. I don't know if you remember, in March, the press was not allowed to cover that convention. INEC was not there. Peter Obi himself is not there. So will your line of thoughts align with what Ayo Olorunfemi is saying, that INEC is the one causing the confusion within the Labour Party?
Any convention that INEC does not supervise is not authentic.
Okay.
Any convention that INEC did not supervise is not authentic. Any congress that did not have INEC participating is not authentic. So that's where they began to fail. And again, INEC made Nigerians to know that Abure's leadership expired in June.
Okay.
Then what else are you asking for? What else your tenure has ended You either become an ordinary member or you go home and sit down. So it is this Abure gang that are causing what's happening in the party. Understand me? Because one, the convention in Newi was not supervised by INEC. And there's no way INEC can register a party or NWC that did not supervise. Just like I cannot move the reason of a meeting that I did not participate.
Okay.
I cannot move a motion on the minutes of a meeting that I did not participate. So INEC cannot recognize a convention that it did not supervise. It does not happen. So Onurufemi is wrong.
He's wrong.
Very, very wrong.
Wow. Well, Julius Abure actually reacted to what INEC disclosed, disqualifying him or saying that we don't recognize you as the authentic chairman of the Labour Party. Like according to what you just said now, any convention that INEC does not prevail over is not authentic. Julius faction, I'm sure you heard about that last night / this morning, responding to INEC's, gavel or authentication or whatever concerning the situation with the Labour Party. He raised concerns that the Independent National Electoral Commission is accusing it of unfairly singling them out for retribution based on their active support for the party's presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, and Abia State Governor Alex Otti. Now, this accusation highlights the faction's perception of being treated by INEC for their roles in the electoral process. Abure made this statement during a media briefing, which was delivered by the faction national publicity secretary. He accused Obi and Otti of betraying all that the Labour Party ever stood for now taking sides with INEC, which led Nigerians down. What does that even mean? How is INEC taking sides with Peter Obi and Otti against the Labour Party?
That's cheap blackmail on the part of Abure. That is cheap blackmail. He is what he is today because of Peter Obi. We are discussing Abure here because of Peter Obi. 34 years ago, have you ever heard Abure anywhere? So Peter Obi made him who he is. Without Peter Obi entering Labour Party, we would not have been sitting here and discussing Abure.
But Ifo, for example, Obiora Ifo is saying that the party has since sued INEC, challenging its exclusion from the commission's refresher training for uploading party agents ahead of the Edo and Ondo governorship elections. Again, like you rightly said, this is the faction of Julius Abure. But the response of Julius Abure to what transpired in INEC's resultant communication as to the authentication of Julius Abure, what is the logic behind his response? I just want to understand how it seems that INEC is causing confusion within the Labour Party and that INEC is collaborating with Alex Otti and Peter Obi to create the confusion within the Labour Party or betray Julius Abure.
Well, one, who can believe that INEC, which is an organ of APC, is siding Peter Obi? Can that happen? It can never happen. So that's where he began to get his argument wrong. Because for now, INEC and Peter Obi do not go the same route. We know where INEC belongs to. We know where Peter Obi belongs to. So, but what he's doing is just raising false alarm everywhere because his tenure is over. But because he has tested money, because he has seen a popularity, he doesn't want to return back to the oblivion where he belongs to.
All right, let's look at this because I'm seeing a comment here and somebody is actually stating that our analysis is tilting towards a certain narrative and I want us to address it, which is taking me back to what is on the tag concerning Matawalle's involvement in banditry and the fact that he was keeping bandits in government house as alleged by the current governor there, and that is Lawal. Now, apparently, who was the deputy governor to Matawalle during his time as governor of Zamfara state? And others are saying that maybe there were some situations that occurred between them. Could that be the reason why supposedly Matawalle is calling out, Lawal is calling out Matawalle?
Well, Ordinarily, we say among two thieves there should be honor, but in Nigeria there's no honor among the thieves. We know that this guy Lawal, they come from APC to PDP.
Okay.
And something must have led to it.
Okay.
And now he is a governor. Mind you, in Nigeria, deputy governors are regarded as a spare tire. They don't take any decision.
All right.
In Nigeria, chief of staff is more important, has more power than deputy governor. So you cannot accuse a deputy governor of insecurity or anything. So maybe maybe he is saying what he saw when he was deputizing this man.
Okay. So he once deputized this man.
Understand me? So they are no more seeing things from the same angle.
But that is a heavy allegation. Regardless of whatever internal conflict or, would I say, personal issues you may have had.
Somebody must speak the truth. Somebody must speak the truth. And if Matawalle feels that he is not saying the truth, then he knows the right course that to take. He has been a governor. He knows what the Constitution says. He knows the powers of a governor. He knows what to do. But I'm sure for him to come on air to make that heavy allegations, he must have his facts.
That's what I'm trying to say. For him to have actually come out on air, because that's a very heavy allegation to make against a current 7 minister. And you don't come out to make such a statement if you don't have your own evidence.
Going by his own position too as a governor.
Exactly. So now the question is, why has Matawalle's team not responded? This information has been I think it was yesterday. Why has Matawalle's team not come out to say anything, either to debunk it, either to say they're going to sue him to court for him to retract his statement because you're defaming or you're slandering or you're trying to mudsling him? They haven't said anything.
Him to court now. He has immunity as a governor,
so he cannot be sued.
He cannot. So he cannot appear in court.
So no countermeasure can be taken against him, if at all he intends to debunk what Lawal said.
Let me tell you that a measure that can be taken. He can report the governor to the president or to the national security advisor, because this is a heavy allegation bordering on security in the country.
Exactly.
So if he goes to Tinubu and says, Tinubu, look at what this governor is accusing me, Tinubu will invite him. If he goes to Nuhu Rebadu and tells him, Nuhu Rebadu will invite him. So this is a heavy allegation that cannot be just ignored.
I think there should still be a development on this. I'm waiting for the PR team of Matawalle to respond, or his media team to respond to all of this. And it's quite vital for him to address this as soon as possible, because what Lawal is actually suggesting or advising Matawalle to do is to resign, so that all of these inadequacies or the gray area around his person concerning his relationship with banditry in Zamfara state should be sorted out before he's reinstated in that position. So if this is coming, then it's expected that something should be done as soon as possible about that. Now, in reaction to the situation with INEC, is INEC not an independent organization? Is it not an independent institution?
They have never been. They are not.
So who does INEC belong to then?
To the ruling party.
How are you certain about that?
That's why.
So you're saying that the INEC belongs to any party that is in charge?
Any party that is in, yes. Any party that is giving they're sending their budget to the National Assembly.
Why would you say so? What facts do you have to back that allegation up?
I have been a member of an election observer group for more than 10 years, right monitoring group. I've been an executive director there, and I know how all these things happens. So INEC has never been objective, have never been independent.
They have never been independent.
They have never been independent.
So when you say they've never been independent, are we saying that any election results being called out by INEC, you cannot consider it to be true and fair? You cannot consider it to be balanced? You cannot consider it to be on a neutral perspective?
One, for election to be that is to be free and fair means that all the due process all the due processes were
followed.
Understand? But when INEC officials begin to tell you to go to court, you know that something is wrong. And they know where the judiciary belongs to.
All right.
So they have never been free and fair. Under the PDP, Maurice Iwu was dancing to Olusegun Obasanjo's tune. So it didn't start today. So we should be truthful, we should be sincere. It did not start today.
All right, Mr. Peter Anosike, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your perspective to some of the questions posed at you. I sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you for having me.
All right, to wrap up, here again are the top stories. You heard that OPEC discloses reason behind high fuel price in Nigeria. Zamfara Governor Lawal alleges Matawalle defense minister fully involved in banditry. Zamfara elders urge Governor Lawal to let Matawalle breathe. Olorinfemi blames INEC for confusion in Labour Party. President Tinubu absent as Vice President Shettima leads Nigeria's delegation to 79th United Nations General Assembly. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.